Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. I kept rescheduling this live. I apologize for that. I'm here. We're here. We're in the studio. I'm trying some new fun things with my stream today. I'm trying a new streaming platform. I have a mic and I'm trying a couple of new lighting techniques. So leave a comment and let me know how you like it. But we're here for how I always remain unbothered. Someone asked me, how are you always so calm and neutral? And I have something in my handy dandy journal here. I wrote down some ways on how I remained unbothered, and let's get into it. So I think people learn to be unbothered by 3 different ways. So you're either born with extreme emotional control, you aren't as expressive with your emotions, or you just don't feel things as deeply as other people do. Then I have the next way is you're either conditioned or you're taught on how to control or regulate your emotions, which is like encouraged. Most parents, guardians would want their kids to learn their emotions in positive ways to express themselves. And then the third way I have is you just learn on the way from your life, daily events, tasks, relationships, upsets, positive activities in your life. You learn every day, basically more and more, how to not be so reactive to outside forces. And I think that I'm a mix of all 3. So anyone will tell you when I was younger, I wasn't one who cried a lot. I was more of someone who expressed myself verbally, or I just dismissed myself from the environment. If I was uncomfortable or I didn't like what was going on, I would just go somewhere else. And I could probably count on my hand the amount of times I've cried in middle school and high school. And I think that another way is that I was someone who usually addressed situations when they came up if I thought it was worth my time. So we'll get into that more. That's probably another reason why I was always kind of neutral and didn't really react as much. And then there's a lot of times where I was super reactive and emotional in a way that it was negative, where I was either pouring myself into people that they weren't reciprocating, or I was overextending myself, and it made me feel like I was kind of tracing or trying to get the attention of someone who didn't want my attention. So I think I'm definitely a mix, learning from experiences. I was taught how to control my emotions, how to acknowledge them, and to express it in a positive way. And then I also think I was born a little bit with just a kind of a subtle way of expression. And I think really the only couple of times I cried when I was younger and early days is when my brother was getting in trouble. I would cry for him. Or if I ever saw my mom cry, like I remember seeing her at a funeral once. I wasn't going to cry at the funeral. I didn't feel the emotion in me until I saw her crying, and then I started to cry. So those are usually the only times I would cry, is if someone I really cared and loved for was crying or emotional, then I might cry. But that was crying is just one form of emotion. And I think crying is completely helpful and useful to release. It's like a natural human way to release a lot of energy that's built up in your body. And it can kind of get you a lot of benefits too with people, because they think that you're more innocent when you start to cry. So I'll just discuss kind of some of the experiences I went through growing up that kind of helped me become unbothered as I am, because I think that is important. You have to go through things to really master the art of being unbothered. So, of course, I dealt with racism. I'm sure mostly all Black people in America and most predominantly white countries or countries that were overran with colonization have dealt with racism. I dealt with racism when I was living in Nevada. I dealt with racism when I lived in Michigan because I was going to predominantly white institutions, predominantly white schools. And a lot of the kids there, I was either the first Black kid in their class ever, first Black kid in the neighborhood, or I was the first Black kid that was in their sporting events or after school activities. And their parents taught them ways that just seemed kind of racist, or they taught them that Black people are beneath them. So I had to deal with little microaggressions growing up. I had teachers that I definitely felt did show differences in how they treated me and other kids. And I would tell my parents right away, especially speaking. When I moved from Nevada to Michigan, I started mixing culturally with people from different economic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, educational family backgrounds, just all different types of groups, and we're all mixing together. Some of the times I would have instances where girls or boys would tell me that I was speaking white. And when I got older, I realized I always knew what they were talking about. And there is some fact to that. I know a lot of people get offended by that, but there is some way that linguistically that can be true, because if you think about it, every culture has a different way of pronouncing words. They have their different vocabularies, they have their different usages, grammar, way they format sentences, all of that. So there are certain cultures who speak a certain way. Maybe some cultures finish their words with the high note, some cultures finish with the low volume, and some kind of slur the end, and some make the end more pronounced. So there is room for that. And I understood that is the reason. So I kind of didn't care as much as some Black people who would be called Oreos, or you're talking white, or you're acting white, because I understood where they were coming from. And then also, if you have someone coming in your community that is speaking differently than mostly everyone else, that makes them an outsider. So it's true, you're not speaking the way that the people that I'm around are speaking. And they happen to have heard other people of a different culture speak that way. So they're going to relate to the way you're speaking to that culture. So that is basically it. Just dealing things as a kid that we all go through. You get tougher skin, and you learn kind of not to take things personal. It's kind of just really simple day-to-day life events. Next I have is having a parent of influence. And that is a whole nother ball game in itself. Maybe one day I'll make a whole video on how it felt being pastor's a pastor's daughter, a PK. That's what they call it, preacher's kid. I never really heard that term till I moved to Michigan. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're a PK." That explains so much. Like, "Oh, ho, ha, you're a PK. Wow, okay, I got it now. Everything makes sense." And I'm just thinking, what are you all talking about? Like, what is this whole idea about PKs? What do they act like? What do they do? And then I kind of finally understood what they were talking about. So when you have parents, whatever level it is, of some form of influence in the community or in a organization, that comes with a lot of pressure on the kids, because they have to be role models. They have to kind of they have to present themselves the way that is going to benefit the family. They can't bring shame onto the family. So dealing with that on its own brings a lot of things. Like, you can't worry about what everyone has to say about you. You got to do what you got to do. You learn to block out a lot of mess from dealing with that. Everyday childhood bullying is one way. People starting rumors, that's a big one. There's always someone starting rumors. If they couldn't get to you one way, like I remember a guy wanted to date me and I turned him down, so he started this rumor about me that was completely false. People start rumors about you if they try to knock your name down or they're in competition of you. They'll try to defame you or make you look bad with your morals or your characteristics. So that's one way. And then just me being in customer service throughout the years, you have a lot of difficult, impatient customers, and you learn kind of not to let everything they do or say sweat you because they have their own issues. It's not you don't. It's not your concern. You don't have to get all revved up into whatever they're doing because that's their own issue. And a lot of the times those people have their own stuff going on. And so you just learn not to take stuff personally. So moving on to the next part of the topic is as you get older, you learn no one is perfect. And that's why I said in that one video, if I was in a committed relationship with someone who was completely taking care of me, treating me well, did everything I could ever ask for, and they happened to step out on me, I don't think I would divorce them right away. I would definitely do what I could to get the best situation out of the deal and weigh my odds because no one is perfect. I can't expect someone to be completely perfect. And cheating is just the super huge deal. You know, there's so many things that could go wrong in a relationship. Lying, financial reasons, how you're raising your children, just family, all of that could. I wouldn't be so quick to judge someone because I know no one is perfect. And because I wouldn't want someone to be so quick that I'm in a relationship with, married to be so quick to judge me and want to break up and divorce me from something that, in my opinion, isn't that grand in the whole scheme of things. No one is perfect. You can't expect people to do things that you believe is the right way to go. We all have our own different morals. We all have our own different religions and beings and things above us that we believe in. And you can't get mad at someone and you can't discredit someone's life and journey just because they don't have the same values, morals, and beliefs as you do. That's another thing I think a lot of people out there really need to learn is just because someone doesn't have the same values as you doesn't mean what they're saying is wrong or doesn't mean what they're doing is evil. It's just they have different viewpoints than you, and that's okay. I think that is what helps this world go around. No one thinks the way that I do. So how can I get upset and react to people's actions when I know they don't even understand the way that I would have went about it? They have no idea because they don't think the same way that I think. So how could I get upset for them making that choice or doing that? And that was the way their mind thought, their reactions, their emotions, that was their choice to do. So why would I get upset over something someone else did? This was another one that I would say I learned later is reciprocity. That is not guaranteed. No matter how well you treat someone does not guarantee you that they will treat you that same way in return. No matter if you buy your coworker a coffee on Monday, does not mean she's going to bring you a coffee in on Tuesday. Because what you did, she didn't ask you to, or it was not required of you, or that's not something maybe she even thought that she would do or would want someone to do for her. So you cannot get upset. You cannot be super reactive if someone is not expressing their gratitude or joy or happiness or regret or any type of emotion, or just even if it's not emotion related, if they're not doing something for you that you did for them, you can't get upset about it because they didn't have to. They don't have to. You can't control anyone. Everyone has their own free will. So that's just, it is what it is. You got to just get over that. And next I has, you never give more than you receive. That would be I would say if I look back on my dating history, that was one of my main problems, is that a lot of the times I was giving myself more than what someone was giving me, whether that be my time, my emotions, my support. One instance with that bum, money, financials, or spending more time at their house than they did at my place, or being just more available than they were for me. I learned that I cannot overextend myself when it comes to friendships. If that friend is never doing anything that I've ever asked them to hang out and support me, or I've asked them to plan something, whatever the case is, if they are never following through with any of the things that I want them to do, then I'm not going to continue to follow through with the things that they want me to do. And yes, I understand. I cannot expect them to be reciprocal. I cannot expect them to understand my feelings. I cannot expect them to think and act the way that I would want them to, but they should at least attempt or try, and they should at least care enough about me that they will want to make me happy with their actions some of the time. So I'm not going to overextend myself. I'm not going to give more than I receive in any instance. At work, even if I'm not getting paid enough to put this much work in, I'm not doing this much work. If you didn't pay me overtime to complete this project after hours, I'm not completing the project. If the man didn't respond after the first date, then I'm not going to text them first. I'm not giving more than I'm receiving. And that goes with ego and love. There was a instance where a guy I broke up with him. We weren't even together. And I found out he was cheating. But was he really cheating? Because he probably was, because he was probably dating her or seeing her before we broke up, right? But I had broke up with him by the time I found out that there was a possibility. And then my ego got to me, and I got so upset and so enraged that he was seeing someone else, but I didn't even care about him. I didn't like him one bit. He was annoying to me. So that was definitely an ego thing. I was upset that he had already moved on to someone else and that I was still technically interested in him in a way. I still wanted him to like me. I still wanted him to want me. I wanted him to want me. So that was an ego relationship. And I had to learn the difference between being in a healthy relationship where we both have respect for each other versus being in a relationship where it was my ego driving it and I really could care less about him, but I wanted him to care and only want me and to be yearning for me, basically. So that's another thing. Next I have is being ghosted. So many of us women take being ghosted so personally, and we get so hurt. And I even made my own full video about it. And since then, I've learned and I've definitely overcome from it in a way that I've evolved. I don't feel those feelings that I had in that video anymore. We do not need to take things personal if a man stops talking to us. Who knows what he has going on in his life? He may not even be able to keep up with you. He may not even be able to afford you. He may not even have the time to deal with you. So we cannot expect for people to always communicate as soon as you would expect them to. I have on here at the end, men a lot of the time need more time in silence than we do as women. The average man does not think about women as much as women think about men. And they may think about sex, and we know that it's completely different because we know that men will have sex with basically anything. They will do it with basically anyone. So that is not the same as them thinking of spending time with you, speaking of spending their money on you, thinking of helping you out in some way with their labor. We know that men fall in love through time, absence, and doing things for their partner, their lady. So when a man does not respond to us on the first date right away, he is thinking, or he's going on in his life, having fun with his friends, working, exploring, traveling, whatever he's up to doing, reading. And when he thinks of you, he will reach out. You just have to sit back and wait and do, not necessarily just wait on him. You're going to go continue to live your best life. And when he responds and reaches out, then you can continue on if you want to. It's up to you. But it's not personal, because that is not the way they are wired. They are not wired to constantly think about us in that sense, especially if they are not in love with you yet, or especially if they don't see a future with you yet. They have time, they have to process all of that. So if you leave them alone and you don't haggle them and bother them, you're giving them time to determine if they should be with you or not. And they'll reach out if they want to. Don't worry. Next I have is losing friends. That was another way I had to learn about remaining unbothered, because people, this is similar to dating. It's another relationship. A lot of women see other women as competition. And I hate that, because I don't think that is naturally in us. I think that is created through culturally and through systems of oppression, that women are put up against each other to kind of battle and fight it out for who's the best. Bay Scoop, can you elaborate on who is the prize, men or women, and why? I just talked about that recently, but I'll go on that in 1 second. Let me finish this point about losing friends too. So when you're losing your friends, you learn that people have their own issues, their own self-esteem, insecure and confidence issues. And when someone in there is leveled up, confident in themselves, and is not so interested in having that relationship, like you think it's a plus in your life, but you don't need that relationship like some other women do, people get offended by that. And they may also not like you for some whatever reason. If a girl ever says that she thought you were stuck up or rude or mean or bitchy before you got together, and she told you that, just know she still has the same feelings for you, and she does not like you. So this girl, she said she thought I was stuck up, and we got to be friends, and she never did start to like me or understand me. And at the end, what did she do? She made up a lie that I talked about one of my closest friends at the time when I was away traveling and studying abroad. And then next thing you know, I lost my first ever good friend that I had. And it was so hard and hurtful. And I felt so sick because I couldn't believe that my close friend would trust this girl who never liked me in the first place over me, who has always been there for her and always supported her. And we always told each other's truth. So I don't understand how she would take another person's over me. But that's because people will manipulate people away. They will tell them lies, rumors, and they will try and encourage them with small instances of confusion. They will make it grander, and that person will end up believing in them. And that's because they want to. They chose to. And you cannot get, after a while, I'd say after that first one, I stopped caring. That the second time I fell out with a friend is she sent in a group chat to me and another girl. I stopped. You girls were talking about me, something, and then she started saying like some kind of digs to someone in the group, and I couldn't know who she was saying. She was saying somebody's down there, PUSSY, someone's female regions were smelly, and I'm thinking, girl, are you serious? Like that right there told me, okay, I definitely don't need to be your friend, because who says something like that? Apparently some guy said that, and that was probably a rumor too. And I know she wasn't speaking on me because I have I have great female hygiene. I see my gynecologist. I get my checkups. That couldn't have been about me. And the other girl, I doubt it was about her because we shared the same restroom and neither one of us had this as any issues with smells in our vaginal region. So I just couldn't believe that. And I thought I was completely uninterested in being her friend anyways. And you know what I said to her when she said that I was gossiping and she was saying all these little hurtful, trying to be hurtful things, but it wasn't working because I seriously did not care. I said, I remember this. I said, well, that's unfortunate. And then never spoke to her again because that's unfortunate for you that you're going to lose a great friend like me because you're going to believe some rumor that some whack girl told you that probably didn't even like me in the first place. All right, I'm sorry about that on your end, but for me, I'm going to be good and you probably will never find another friend like me. So you lost, you missed out. So if you're confident in securing yourself, things that other people try and put on you or start rumors or beef or issues, it won't affect you because you know who you are as a person. No matter what anyone else says, no matter what their opinions on you are, no matter what their thoughts. What did Deion Sanders said? I don't want to say in quotes, but he said something along those lines of, why would I care about what you think of me? Your opinion has nothing to do with me. You didn't make me, so you can't break me. And that is so true. Nothing anyone else says or does to hurt your character or your reputation can really affect you if it's not true. And nowadays, you can sue for defamation. What did Candy do? She sued Portia and Phaedra for telling lies about her for having a sex dungeon. That's how you shut that down. If it's not true, put out a lawsuit, nip it in the bud, and that's all you got to do. You don't have to speak on it any more than that. Be confident, be secure in yourself, and nothing can really shake you. Following that, as I have, follow your own choices, make your own decisions in life. If you are one of those people who is always constantly asking people, well, what do you think about this? Or how do I look in this? Or what's your opinion on this? Should I do this? Would you do this? You're not secure and confident in yourself. Of course, sometimes we may need second opinions. Of course, sometimes we may need expert advice. But if you're always asking for everyone's opinions and thoughts, and if you should go through with something, you can never make your own choices on your own. You need to do some inner work and evolve into someone who can make choices and follow through with it, because that is how you become secure and confident and unbothered, because you know you made this choice. So what no one else says can bother you because you stood in this and you're standing firm in this. KB Scoop says that's how women compete with other women, though, by dragging other women down to increase their status. And that's true. But they can't drag you down if you do not care, if you're unbothered, and if you know where you are in life, if you know where your status is, you know where you are, you know where you're going, what that person does or says can't hurt you. And if they do try to defame you, then you put out that lawsuit, you put out that gag order on them. So then they have to start paying you if they're going to continue to slander your name. Cardi B did it with Tasha K. She said something about her that was not true. She took her to court, and now she's getting $1 million settlement from Tasha K. So that is exactly how you go through that. So follow your own choices. And then I have next is think of the positives in life. If you're always thinking of the negative, and that's one thing I think a lot of people will say if they have ever met me, that I am very positive, and that makes life more joyful and happy because I'm thinking of the good things about basically every situation that I can. When people try and gossip with me, they say, oh my gosh, this girl, she always smells bad and she looks so dirty and dingy, I will say something, well, she probably has difficulty with her plumbing, and she actually she actually has great pieces of clothing. Like, I would figure out a way to flip whatever they gossiped about her and try and spin it into like a positive thing. So that's just one instance. But day-to-day life, I try and find the positives and joys in everything. When I'm walking down the street, I'm thankful that I have legs and feet. I have 10 toes. Not everyone can say they have 10 toes, and I'm so thankful for the 10 toes so I can stand stable. I can go do my full form of yoga, and that is great. Whether it's you being able to think and wake up every day, whether that's you enjoying your new book that you're reading, just try and enjoy the little things in life. That's another way you can remain unbothered, because you know you enjoy your life. Your life is great. So nobody can really shake you to the core because you are happy. So you have to learn to regulate your emotions. A lot of people were not taught this, because I still see it today. I was working at Sephora and I saw a dad tell his son, "What did I tell you about crying? What did I tell you about that?" A lot of men don't understand that it is good for their sons to cry. Let them release those hurtful feelings in their body. Let them release that pain. That is a natural way. It's not harming anyone. It may be a little annoying to hear, but you can walk away from that and let them cry it out. Maybe give them a safe space so they can have somewhere where they can comfortably cry and not feel like they're bothering anyone. It's normal. You have to learn a way. I've told you all, I recommend journaling. If you have some severe, extreme emotions, you may need to go seek a professional psychotherapist to help you with that. You may need to learn some natural herbs to take, or maybe need some prescription medicine. Physical activity helps with those endorphins. Get workout more. Your diet helps too. What else? Sometimes limiting sex or even having sex can help with releasing your emotions. You got to figure out a way for you that is positive. Stay away from the drugs, and that includes alcohol. Stay away from things that can become addictive, gambling, porn, shop theft, shoplifting. A lot of those things people do because it helps them release emotions. I know being a klepto is an addiction and it's a mental thing, but a lot of women start stealing when their lives are mundane and they're bored with life. If you look in the statistics, it's like women ages like 20 to 40, and I think it's even I'm pretty sure it's Caucasian women have the most theft cases against them, because a lot of the time they are not happy in their relationships. Their partners are not doing and treating them the way they would want. So they go out and steal so they can get some type of excitement, rush, or high in their body. And that is a way for them to, in their opinion, regulate their emotions, because they're not feeling anything. Like if you pinch them, it just doesn't feel like anything. So they're gonna go steal so they can feel a rush and feel some excitement. So we gotta find some safe, healthy ways to express ourselves. KB says, no, boys need to be taught to temper their emotions. Men never show weakness by crying in public. Well, we're not talking about men, we're talking about boys. And it's okay for them to cry in public. And you work with them and you teach them, yes, I understand you're upset right now. What is the issue? What is bothering you? What is upsetting you? How can we solve this problem? How can we solve this issue? They can't cry when they're talking, so they're going to stop crying because they're going to want to solve this problem that they're having, and then they'll move on with their life. They've expressed their emotion. Hopefully you can label it. You're feeling sad. Why are you feeling sad right now? What happened? Tell me what happened. You can discuss the issue, resolve it, move on. They can't cry if they're talking with you. I've seen it. Kids stop crying because they want to talk. They can't breathe, cry, and talk at the same time. It doesn't work for kids. So they stop. All of that learning as a kid on how to express themselves, identify what they're feeling, and move on, teaches them as they get older how to react in each situations. So you can let them do that young, and then they'll start learning as they get older from you intervening how to properly respond in different situations. So that it's kind of like not just a one and done thing. It's about years and years of helping them with their emotions. And then they'll start doing it on their own. And eventually if that's up to you. I've been around a lot of older boys in social work. They get, the ones who didn't have those opportunities to express themselves, they go more towards anger because they can't differentiate between sadness, anger, confusion, or being afraid. So they usually go towards anger because that was accepted from them, was to be angry. They could be angry, but they couldn't be sad. They could slam the door, or they could throw the remote, but they weren't allowed to cry, or they weren't allowed to show some form of weakness. But being sad is not a form of weakness. It's just a form of expression emotionally. So when they get older, they can learn that, hey, this is making me uncomfortable. This is making me sad. I'll either excuse myself from the situation, which is what we notice men do when they get older. If they are not um, happy, they usually dismiss themselves and go seek solitude, or sometimes they do end up crying if it's something extreme and severe. Finally, I have to tie it all up about the dating aspect of how to remain unbothered, because I think it's something that I really should repeat over, is that men need more time and silence than women, ladies. So you cannot be upset if a man is not replying to you as quickly as you would like, if their text messages are shorter, if they aren't calling you. They are not your girlfriends. They are not, that is not your sister. That is not your mom. That is not your cousin. That is a potential romantic partner who is genetically male, a man human. So he is not going to express himself the same way that we do. So you cannot expect him to constantly communicate with you, reach out, and be always readily available to take you out on dates. They may need some time, weeks, months between the date, a vacation, a trip, a weekend. They may need a day or two to respond to you. And it's not because they don't feel you, they don't like you, they don't respect or have concerns for you, what you're doing. It's because that's just not the way they're genetically wired. That is just not the way that their mind works. Men do not love the same way that women love. And we have to accept that, so we won't get so personally affected when a man is ghosting us. It could not even be a ghost. Maybe he's just gone away with his friends for the weekend. Maybe he's doing something and he'll get back to you when he can, or when he's actually even thinking about you. He could be dating other women at the time. How would you feel if you were that woman who didn't respond and all the other women were hassling him, messaging him, blowing up his phone? Who do you think he's going to rather want to see when he gets back from his trip? He's going to want to see you, because you were the only one who showed your life was just fine without him. So then he's going to want to pursue you more because he sees that you're confident in yourself, you have your own life, and that he's not your all to be all. You don't have your mind wrapped all around him. You've got your own stuff going on. You kind of understand who he is and what he's about. And then he'll reach out to you. And those other women will be annoying. And he probably would just use them for his own pleasures. And we know what that all can entail, a lot of things. So that's the wrap up on how I remain unbothered. Is I don't take things personally. I remember no one is perfect. No one thinks the way that I think. And that life goes on, and that I am happy. I enjoy my life, and I take everything with a grain of salt. And I learned how to show my emotions a healthy way. And sometimes that is either not responding. Some situations don't even need a response. Sometimes people will do that just to pick on you and just to get you to come out of your comfort zone, just to get you to start up some drama, or just to even get a conversation out of you. Some things I'm just not going to even acknowledge. That's just what we got to be on. We just got to be at that level in life. Some things just don't even need our time or our energy to address it. All right. So let me go back to K-Base Scoop says, can you elaborate on who is the prize, men or women, and why? So K-Base Scoop, I've said this before, that I think, technically speaking, men and women can be a prize, and that is considerate on how the relationship is, the dynamics of the relationships. Men, we don't have to verbalize them being a prize if they are leaders, if they are providers, if they are great fathers, great sons, brothers, uncles, whatever they are in their community, if they have power in their life at work, if they have resources, provisions to give to their family, that automatically makes a man a prize. So we don't have to label it a prize. We don't have to call them a king. We don't have to say they're the leader, they're the man of the house, because they express that. Their actions are louder than their words. They're handling business, so they don't need a title that says they're handling business, because them completing the actions of paying the bills, making great choices for their family, setting up everyone's, so when he passes away, everyone is still getting paid, starting businesses, being the boss, being the CEO, being the entrepreneur, doing a great job raising his children. That alone is them being the prize, because they are handling their business. They're the kings in their own right. So we don't have to tell them that. We don't have to acknowledge it. And it's not something that is just basically put out there, because they are in their own right. But women are the prize naturally, because we are the creators of this earth. We are the goddesses. We have the feminine energy that is needed for life. So we are the we are Mother Nature's prizes. We are the needed, necessary beings for all human life. We create, we can do multiple things at once. How many men do you know who can multitask and be calm and handle business at the same time? How many women do you know who can multitask and be calm and handle business? How many women that are executive CEOs, entrepreneurs, are compared to men, are overperforming and outranking them in productivity and net worth and income and distribution and merchandising? Anytime that you put a woman in something like an executive field, we're going to perform better than the man. It's just what it is, and it's not something to come at men. It's just the way we were created. There was a studies I told you all that said women plastic surgeons are more efficient and have better outcomes than the male plastic surgeons. Well, what do you know? We are detail oriented. We notice the smallest meticulous details in situations. We take our time and we want things to be done a proper way. We are more compassionate naturally. We're nurturers. All of these things makes us the prize. We are needed for people to feel comfortable at home and safe. This is all. We have so many things that we encompass that just naturally make us the prize. We have Mother Earth, Mother Nature. There's a reason why they're called mother. There's a reason why they called, I'm not even go into that. There's reasons why there's parts of the Bible that in other religious books that kind of try and shed negative lights on women, because they understood then how much power women held and how much power we obtain. And they didn't always want to show light to that. You see, some people say they don't even want to worship a man, because women, if you look back in history, who were people worshiping? They were worshiping queens and goddesses and women. They were worshiping women. So I think that is a huge part of your question, who's the prize, men or women? Of course, the woman is the all and all to be all prize, but a man can have his own little trophy, if you want to say, for just doing what he is supposed to do, which is provide and make the woman's life easier and more simple so she can relax and so she can give him all of the feminine power and energy that she wants to give him, because she's going to keep most of it to herself, but she can give him some, which is going to elevate him and make his life even better because of what she can offer him, and through her servicing and her energy and just being there and what she can do to create and make the house a better house and better home and business. If you see, I want to look this up. I may make a video about this. I think it's Tory Burch. I think it's her who married a wealthy man. And you know how men always say they want a strong woman who's successful, independent, and competes with them. But then when a woman does and they beat them at their own game, they get upset. I think it is Tory Burch who married her husband, who was a wealthy. He invested in her, helped her start her business. Then her company outsold his company. And then he tried to sue her for rights of her company. I'm going to have to look into that. It's somebody like that. Yeah, I think it is Tory Burch. She married a wealthy man who invested in her and thought that this is what he wanted. But turns out she beat him at his own game, and he tried to, once they got a divorce, tried to get her some of her money from her business that she made using his money for his initial investment. I have to look into that, but y'all look into that, look that up. And that's how I tell you right there. One main reason that men really, not all of them can handle a powerful woman like that, because they get offended and their ego gets hurt because she beats him at his own game. So just be careful in that part. But then I do want to talk about how the prize, men and women, finish this up finally. In certain relationship dynamics, if the woman does not understand her power as a feminine goddess or a feminine energy or a feminine presenting individual, or just balancing her masculine and her feminine, or understanding who she is as who her being is and herself and her purpose in life and her goals. If she doesn't understand any of that and she's not secure in herself, she in fact can make her man the prize, because she can be chasing him, putting her all into him, devaluing herself, committing all acts she would never actually commit. And she can make that man the prize just from doing that. She can make him a prize if she is going to him and pursuing him, putting her all into him, investing in him, and not taking care of herself or her family. That is how she can make a man prize. So you may see that. You may see that in your relationships in life, that you may know someone and the dynamics look odd because the girl does not understand who she is. She's not confident in herself as a woman. She's not secure, and she doesn't know where her real goals and purposes are. She could put a man above her, definitely. And that's why I had to check whoever said in my comments that women want men who are better than them. And on what earth is that the case? I have never, ever heard nothing crazy like that women want a man better than them. First off, how is a man going to ever be better than a woman that knows who she is in life? Come on now. Like, be for real. KB Scoop says, do you think today's women are a bit unaware of their healing powers within the male-female relationship dynamics? What do you mean by healing powers? Do you think today's women are a bit unaware of their healing powers? Healing as in their own internal evolution or their own internal level up, or you mean healing other people? Because I don't know about healing. I don't know about that one. I guess I'll have to revisit that question. So I don't know what that means, but thanks all for tuning in. Let me know what you all think about the new setup, the lights, the background. I'll be back tomorrow, Super Bowl Sunday. You know I'm not watching the game, but I will be watching Usher's concert. So we'll be back on here for all the other people who aren't interested in the game, and we'll chit chat. Okay, bye.